Hello, everybody out there. Welcome back to In Bed with Comics. I'm so sorry. I had to take a nap on In Bed with Comics. I need to take a little bit of a break from it, go back to my collective and kind of figure out what I was going to do with the show. And I've come up with a new format, which I will talk about later. And then I also had like a bunch of other projects and stuff like that I wanted to do. So I took a little bit of a step back from In Bed with Comics, but I will be back every Thursday at 8 o'clock with a new comic coming on and participating in the new format. But tonight we are all about Mr. Johnny MacDonald. Now, is it
Hey,
MacDonald or McDonald's? Because that's
it's
important.
whatever you want to pronounce it, as long as you spell it right. I don't even get
I think I
caught up
spelt it wrong.
in the. No, you did. No, you spelled it right.
Are you sure?
MAC.
No.
Oh, okay, whatever.
Whatever. It's
It's
up there. You
I
know who
don't.
you are. You know who you are.
Yeah, I mean, I don't freak out. I think the only time I freak out a little bit if it's on like a comedy flyer and you're like, oh God.
That is a huge
Like,
no no. It's like, what?
it, I do, but then I was like, all right, you know what? Somebody's gonna, it's funny because now with, Facebook, you're gonna spell your name the right way. I
Yeah.
believe, in my own face. So if you look at my time to look at Facebook, social media profile, you know what I'm saying? My name is spelled, we spell our name the right way. And then when somebody still butchers it, I'm like, all you
Awful.
got to do
It's
is go to my
horrible.
Facebook.
Sometimes
And
people
that's
even will like comment back to me and they'll spell my name wrong. And I'm like, dude, it's literally right there that I spell
there,
my name
yeah.
Aris,
Like do me, yeah.
En, not
Hmm.
In. Like, get it? And then
Yeah,
sometimes people will spell my name wrong on a
yeah.
flyer. And then I feel guilty having to say, yeah, you spelled my name wrong because it's
And then
kind
you
of like
feel,
not
and
really
then
that
you feel
good.
like you're a diva or something. I was like, all
Yeah, like who the
right.
fuck do you think you are to demand that your name gets spelt right?
Yeah.
Who are you? Like, okay, well, people, a name is very
Yeah.
important, especially in the industry that we're in. Our name
Yeah.
means basically everything. If nobody
And
knows your name, you're
it's
nothing.
minimal effort to just go on your Facebook page. Like I said, you're not going to spell your own name wrong. You
Right,
know what I'm saying? So
right.
it's minimal effort to go on somebody's social media and just be like, all right, that's how he spell it. He
That's
must
how we
spell his
spell.
own name
Right.
correctly. So
I think the worst thing that could happen besides that is getting your name spelled wrong on a cake. Like that is like my mom got me a birthday cake one year when I was little and I refused
mhm.
to eat it. Yes, for the first time in my life, I refused to eat a piece of cake. Okay, because when I looked at the cake, my name was spelt wrong. And I
Well, I'm
was
pretty
just
sure
like,
it definitely wasn't your mother's fault. It had to be the bakery's fault.
yeah, of course it was.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
she was like, oh my God. So then like she took like a little piece of icing and somehow like made like an E out of the I, and I was just like, all right,
Hmm.
this feels like like sacrilegious
Yeah.
ludicrous, but I'm gonna eat it anyway, and I went for it. So hello
Yeah.
everybody, thank you so much for watching. You're watching In Bed with Comics with my guest tonight, Johnny MacDonald. I appreciate everybody
Hello.
for watching. Thank you so much.
There's a cat.
There's Yin Yang's ass right there in the
Yeah.
camera. He's just
Nice.
loving it. So we actually did a show together, you and I, a couple of months ago outside on that stage. I
Yeah, that was fun. You did great.
thank
It
you.
was a
So did
fun.
you. That was
It
a
was
fun night. It was cold though. That's when it first started
it
getting
was
cold out here.
cold, but the bigger picture to me was we were doing what we love to do in front of people who were willing to, be outside to brave the cold
People came
and
outside. I think more people that were just so happened to be there in the bar that was there. Thank you, Teresa. Teresa picked out this top for me. She wants everybody to know that.
yay, Teresa.
um, I think more people actually came out from the bar that we were performing in front of to watch us.
Yes, and when
People
I
actually
saw
bought
that,
tickets.
that was pretty cool. And it
Yeah,
was like, yeah, they cheated the system because they didn't pay, but at the same time,
right.
I mean, hey, a crowd's a crowd. You're just happy to get people involved, and that's what's pretty dope about comedy, especially in the New York area. We adapted, and COVID sucks and all this stuff, but we basically follow the guidelines and rules of, how to make things happen. And
Oh yeah.
people are still doing shows to this day. And that I guess that just shows how much stand up means to, you know, the New York area, and how much, you know, people are willing to sit out. You know, I guess shout out to everybody who came to a show and, you know, was like, I don't
Morning,
care if it's
yeah.
cold, if it's snowing, if it's raining, but I'm gonna sit out and watch a comedy show. That's like, what the hell are you doing? You know what I'm saying? Why are you
Yeah, it
out here
speaks
sitting?
volumes. But I kind of like, I
I'd
know
be like,
everybody
no, what are
looks
you
at,
doing?
yeah, I know everybody looks at COVID as being like a curse, but
Hmm.
you know, I think in a way it was kind of a blessing on a certain level. I know that it's a curse for other people, but I looked at it as kind of being somewhat sort of a blessing in disguise for the comedy industry because it taught comics to step outside of their comfort zone
Hmm.
and do comedy in different ways. Like, you know, now you know, because a lot of people were very stuck in that energy of I can only perform on a stage. I'm
Hmm.
only doing it if it's like if I'm getting paid $300, $400. I'm only doing it if it's like a big name thing. I
Hmm.
would never do a bar show. Like
Hmm.
I mean, people like would look down on you if you did bar shows, and it's like, yeah, but this is it's a stage, it's a microphone, it's a crowd. More people do
Hmm.
feel comfortable going to a bar, you
Hmm.
know, and I really do think that it gave comics the oomph and the push that they need to. You don't just have to perform on a stage to be a comic. You can basically perform on social media. You could do, you know, Zoom shows. You could do whatever you want to still
And
keep
I'll
doing
say
your
this. I want to say, was your show the first Zoom show I did?
Yes, and that was probably that was definitely one of the best. I am getting back to those Zoom shows. I will be doing shows with comics live, but it
Hmm.
you know the audience will be able to watch through Zoom. I do have I just got a connect for a new spot,
Oh,
uh,
nice.
but also as well as doing it in the house. But yeah, you were there, and your son was like
Yeah.
falling all over you, and I was like, this
Yeah.
is the life of a daddy comic. How do
That was
you do that?
that was kind of my secret weapon to get over because I didn't know how well it would go. Because Zoom shows, I admit, I think a lot of people would at the first, you know, they're skeptical,
Right.
but I'll be honest. From that show on, and I did plenty of others afterwards, they're fun. I think there's no pressure. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The people that are there to see a Zoom show, they're happy to be there. They're here because they want something, and I don't think it's too much pressure to even do material per se. I think you could just, not saying wing it and freestyle it, but you can have a little bit more. It's a loose environment. Like, don't get caught up. In my opinion, like I didn't get caught up in like doing, you know, material, because if a joke didn't go over, I didn't want to feel like shit. But at the same time, they don't know that. You know what I'm saying?
Right, they have
Like
no idea because most of the
yeah.
people that were watching the Zoom show had never seen you before. Teresa actually saw the show and she said that it was hysterical. It was too cute, and it stole the show. It really was. I mean, a lot of people were like, "Wow, you know, how?" I mean, you just went with like the whole thing, and your son was literally just bouncing all over you. It was very,
Yeah.
and
Yeah, that was like my
no,
secret
man,
word. I was
you're
like,
supposed to be part of the show, you know.
yeah, because I was like, all right, if I don't get any laughs, at least this will,
Oh,
this will.
was I?
I pulled out the cheat code. I pulled out the cheat code.
Was that my first or second show that I think yeah, you were on that show. Fat Jay was on that show.
Hmm.
Cara
Yeah.
Murray was on that show. I forget who else was on that show. Like I really, I've really done quite a bit of shows, and
Yeah.
sometimes I lose track and I forget. But I had, you
And
know,
that's, yeah. And that goes to show you that you're working a lot. You know what I'm
I
saying?
do
You're
work a
doing,
lot. Yeah, I do.
yeah. So you're doing what you're, you know what I'm saying? You're doing the shit. You don't even have to keep, you do it so much, you don't even have to keep track anymore. You just keep
Yeah,
doing
just
it. You're
yeah.
doing it.
I I
So,
I I I don't miss. I loved my prior energy to recent. I
hmm.
loved being in my house and being able to just stay home and do it because
Hmm.
you know prior to this I worked a lot. I had two jobs. So I
Hmm.
was running, you know, from a Saturday job taking care of some dogs, which to me is not a job, but that's a luxury.
Yeah.
You know, I love dogs. But
Hmm.
running from there and then having to run home and get ready and then run all the way to Levittown to do a show or East Meadow, wherever I was doing a show or wherever it was, you know, it's a hustle. It really it's a big hustle. And I think that comics now, because they've had to be their own producers, I think that maybe some of them are catching up to how hard it is to actually produce a show. It's hard.
Hmm.
Have you ever produced any shows?
I have. Um, it is a very it's one of those things where it's a lot of energy. You wear different hats, and sometimes it's stressful because you're making sure you promote and make sure when you're booking the comics and booking the crowd, not booking the crowd, but getting a crowd in for the comics, and then you kind of in your head is are last as far as like
Yeah.
how you perform because you're so stressed out.
Not at all. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember the first show. I'm not saying that, oh man, because I produced shows a long time ago, but I didn't want to get in the habit, not in the habit of producing shows. There's nothing wrong with it, but I just didn't want to be stressed. I knew I knew so many people that produce shows everywhere, and then when you go to venues, like, hey, Kristen, what's up? I'm like, oh, you know what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
their head, and it's not, it's not you personally. It's because like, oh, I got to make sure people are getting in. I got to make sure the owner or the manager said, "Well, we have to shut down at a certain time, or we
That
have
was
to do."
yeah. I
Yeah,
definitely missed. I did a show in Brooklyn, and I
I
definitely
remember I was on that one. Yeah,
you were on that show. Yes, I
yeah,
missed.
that was
I
fun.
was under
Yeah,
an immense pressure of you got to get the comics to buy drinks, which I'm not going to tell my comics to do anything. I'm not going to say not my comics. I'm not going to say to them, "Hey, you guys have to buy drinks." You guys are supposed to be enforcing a 2 item minimum
hmm
for everything, and then it was kind of like, well, we want 25% of the ticket sales, but we're not going to help you promote the show because we can't. And then it's like, okay, so now I got to do all the work for you. Like, what's the point? Like, you're literally,
that's yeah, and that's what I don't. That's why I try not to produce. If I'm fortunate to get on things without producing, it's great. I mean, I know sometimes you got to do what you got to do, and that's fine. I don't frown upon it, but I just know the stress level. You know what I'm saying?
the stress level. And I
Like,
think that people sometimes forget that I'm a comic, or they might be a little, apprehensive about approaching me because
yes.
they think, oh, well, you have your own thing, you're doing your own thing, you don't need me. But it's like, it would be nice, I think amongst producers to say, hey, if you put me on one of your shows, I'll put you on one and give you a
Well,
break.
that's the whole point. That's the whole point why people
You know?
produce.
Yeah.
That's the whole point why people produce. It's trade spotting.
Mhm.
You got one show one week, and then that's part of the reason why I think that was one of the reasons why I produced was like, all right, if you're not getting anything here,
Right.
you create your own lane, and then you virtually, it's an unwritten rule. You know what I'm saying? It's like you don't be like, hey, you put me on my show, and if you don't put me on your show, I'll never. You know what I'm saying? It's not.
Yeah. You
Hopefully
put,
it's
yeah.
just common reciprocity of you do for me, I do for you,
Right.
and that's what most people do, and that's what I noticed in comedy. Like when I first started, you know I felt like I got somewhat scammed because I went the bringer route at first, and I remember doing so many bringers and not getting anywhere for it. And you think the reason when you're doing bringers, like when you this is one of the I guess industries where you go in and you know nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You don't know anything. But like, once you do a couple open mics, you're like, ah, this is what comedy is. You know what I'm saying? And then once you step in a comedy club, and then I think that's where, like, especially in New York where there's so many clubs,
Yeah.
and you get roped into doing a bring, which is fine. I don't frown upon bringers, but you can't make a habit of doing them. You know what I'm saying? Because then now the producer is kind of taking advantage of you. Because if you don't,
Right. If you don't
yeah,
bring, well, the thing is with bringers, and I think what a lot of people are realizing now, um, you have to build a fan base.
absolutely.
But most
I
people
like. I
don't
don't.
do
I
that.
don't frown upon. I don't frown upon like. All right. I think every show we do, no matter if it's a club book show and you're booked or anything, it's a bringer because at the end of the day, you got to get people. You want to get people in there.
Right? You want to get people that are going to come. I mean, it's nice to get
Yeah.
to perform in front of a built-in audience, but you don't have
hmm
any contact with that audience because is what people don't realize is that the club actually owns that audience. They are
hmm
actually the ones that are bringing the people in. The people are going there specifically to see a comedy show.
Hmm.
So if you're not getting them at the end of the night and giving them your card or having them come up to you and having a chance to be able to talk to them, they're not going to be able to find you. They're not going to know who you are. So
Hmm.
it's nice to have your own personal circle of fans that follow you and
Oh,
like.
absolutely.
And I feel like as if some people are trying to hit the jackpot with that, where they have like this million follower rules or some sort of stuff. But even out of those million people, there's not really unless you like a big huge name, those people aren't going to show up. And I kind of feel like that was the rush to get back to comedy because we were losing that because we definitely lost the collective. I don't care what anyone says, even if maybe even 5 6 years from now people still might be like, well, I'm not going into a big room or a stadium because I just don't trust
You
it. I mean,
don't,
it's
yeah.
back in the
Hmm.
Capitol right
It.
now,
Hmm.
with that woman being shot. I mean, that was,
Yeah.
how could that have even happened?
Well, there were a bunch of lunatics out there. That's what
Okay, but
happened.
I'm not even gonna
Yeah,
say
you go
anything,
go there. Yeah, yeah,
but that was planned. I'm sorry. That was
yeah.
definitely something that that was. I knew, I could sense that there was going to be something that was going to happen, and I
Hmm.
think that people. This is just the start of it. Where
Yeah,
that 9/11 fear coming back again, where most
yeah.
people didn't want to go places where there were a lot of crowds, and now we have COVID. That's where people don't want to go where there's a lot of crowds, and now it's kind of thinking, well, is something like this going to happen in another place now?
Hmm.
Because somebody doesn't like whatever happened. I mean,
Well, I mean, remember that was a free. I mean, the people that were going there, it wasn't like it was a you had to pay to go there. You know what I'm saying? It was a unplanned rally. You know what I'm saying? And I don't really like to get into all that stuff anyway. But to like people to go out in any type of form where it's like because of the environment now, it's so. I guess it depends who you are, because even before COVID happened, there was mass shootings and stuff like that. You were just in the wrong place at the wrong
at the
time.
wrong time. Yeah, well, yeah, I
Yeah,
think that.
and it sucks, and you just hope and pray it doesn't happen to where you go. But I think I know what you're talking about with the fear of COVID, and it probably discourages more people to go out now. You know what I'm saying? Once things go back to normal, because a lot of things were brought home now. Like look at the movie theaters. I don't know how the movies come back. You know what I'm saying?
I'm not going to move there right now.
Yeah, and I don't blame you because
They're dirty
most of them.
anyway.
Yeah, and I'm from what I like the old school movie experience. I don't. I used to I was the type that like $5 Tuesdays. I was there. Like I'll pick my movie of that Tuesday. I was like, what am I see on Tuesday for $5? All right, I'll
And
go
just
see that.
go and watch whatever. Like I definitely
Hmm.
miss that experience. And if I have
Yeah.
time to go to the movies when there's not going to be anybody around,
Hmm.
then I'll do that. But now they also give you the option, which I'm going to take credit for this because when I was in college, years and years and years ago, I had said that they should have movies available for you to watch at home in case
Absolutely.
you can't go.
Absolutely.
And look what happened here. Lo and
Hmm.
behold, you can now spend $20 and you can
Yeah.
watch all of that. Hi,
I
Antonio.
don't know.
Hi, Bobby Ann.
I don't know how much of a hit like the Hollywood studios took from not having the traditional movie box office counts
They probably
whatever.
more of a hit from Epstein killing himself
Yeah.
because that's where Hollywood makes most of their money with all that crap.
Hmm.
I know you don't want to
Yeah.
talk about that. We're not
No,
going to
it's
talk
fine. I
about
did.
that.
Yeah, yeah.
But I mean, Hollywood didn't take a hit for the most part because Hollywood the movie the studios are not the ones that make the most money. Actually, the movie theaters make the most money. The movie theaters
They
make
get the
the most
biggest part piece of
money.
the pie. Yeah.
Absolutely, because you have to
Mhm.
be able to pay in order to, a blockbuster is not picked by who's in the movie or what movie it is. A
Mhm.
blockbuster is picked based off of how much money it's going to make at the box
They
office,
absolutely.
and then
Mhm.
how much money is it going to make through rentals.
Mhm.
How much, and then because you have a lot of vendors that are competing for spots in a movie theater, so you have the popcorn distributor, which
That's why popcorn costs like $13.
exactly they're paying a
Mhm.
dollar for a
Soda
can
is
of popcorn.
$10. Yeah. Mhm.
Exactly. And they have to compete. There's not an
Mhm.
option. Either it's a Coke theater or a Pepsi theater, and Coke
Mhm.
dominates everything. And then you have the candy, and you have everything else. That's
Mhm.
part of the movie experience. And then they
Yeah.
started adding like dine-in stuff. So the movie theaters are actually the ones that make the most money out of that entire deal.
And I can see that, but also it's like also it's kind of like anything we consume now is almost the movies to me were the last of the way we consume things. Like music, we don't buy albums anymore. We have a monthly subscription to something to listen to those albums.
Yep.
So I don't know how music, like, when like, artist goes gold or platinum, I don't even know if that counts anymore, or if it's like by
No,
their streaming numbers. I really don't know how that industry works.
it's how again, it's how much money the record labor or producer pays the radio stations for advertising
Mhm. But
to be able to get.
is radio even a factor as it used to? Because
Um,
I definitely don't listen to the radio anymore.
it is and it isn't. I kind of feel like radio is kind of dying out in a way because
And I think it was dying out maybe like 10 years ago, in my opinion.
right
You know what I'm saying?
now
Because
everything is it's separatism. Like if you want to pay money for XM radio, you're gonna get certain artists, you're gonna get certain news, you're gonna get whatever
hmm
it is,
yeah.
or like YouTube or something like that. But
hmm
really, the most popular artists today are basically how many? Because when you listen to the radio, they basically play the same songs over and
Oh
over.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's heavy rotation. I know about the
Right.
payola and all that old stuff.
But that's
Yeah,
how
so it's
somebody gets awards because it's how much
mhm,
money they paid to be able to have their
to
music
have their record played.
to
Yeah,
get that right. So
yeah.
that's how somebody becomes famous. It's all about money. It has nothing to
Absolutely.
do
Yeah.
with anything else. It's all about money. It's crazy.
Yeah, there's no integrity in anything
No,
anymore. I don't think. Yeah.
unfortunately, there's not. I mean, they
Yeah.
like to make us think that there is, like when they have those singing and dancing shows where people
Absolutely.
they have
But
that
it,
one
yeah. Oh
inspiring
no.
story, and it's like
Yeah.
this person was pre-picked. Somebody
Yeah.
paid a lot
It's
of
all
money.
mass production.
There's
It's all
absolutely they
yeah,
paid
it's
a lot
all
because if you look at the track record, if you follow the money trail of most people, except for the fluke, which was Kelly Clarkson,
hmm
I mean Taylor Swift, her father is very wealthy. There's very few of them that were like stars that came from nothing.
Nothing, yeah.
That, well, like Britney
They
Spears.
had a connection.
Well, I think Britney Spears did come from a wealthy family, but not that wealthy.
Yeah.
I mean, definitely not as wealthy as Taylor Swift's family, definitely not wealthy as, as other people. But if you pay enough money, you can get your ticket to
Absolutely.
fame. But there's a
hmm
price to pay for that. There's a big
There is a price to pay.
because you don't own yourself anymore. That's the problem. And a
Yeah.
lot of people, especially in comedy, they think that making it big as a big star is going to be the greatest thing. Listen, it can be, but at the same time, your life is now owned and it gets constructed in a certain way
hmm
that you have to follow a certain timeline of events um, that have to play out, and you don't get a say in what you're going to do. So, like, take Kim Kardashian, who's now
hmm
getting a divorce from Kanye,
Divorce, yeah.
which I'm happy about.
Yeah.
Go, girl. Yes,
I,
I
I
knew.
was sad. I thought they were gonna make it. I thought I
No,
well,
no, no, no. I just
well, I knew it
like
was.
I knew
I'll
it.
be honest. I knew it was mad, but it probably lasted longer than expected.
Right. This is not a union of love. That's why,
hmm
Kim was upset about the last guy that she broke up with because that's the one she wanted to marry.
Who was it? The guy that
Uh,
played for the Nets, Chris
yeah,
Humphreys,
yeah,
or
yeah.
was it?
Chris Humphreys
Well,
and
they married in
also,
was
yeah,
6 weeks.
yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
Jennifer Lopez actually really did want to marry Ben, whatever his last name is. I forget it because whatever.
Was
Um,
it young guy?
yeah, same thing.
Oh, Affleck. Oh, Affleck.
Affleck,
You
Ben
talking about Affleck?
Affleck.
Okay.
Same thing
Yeah.
with Madonna and Sean Penn. That was a real couple. They were really in love with each other, but that was
hmm
not the contract that they signed. They had to agree to, and this is all conspiracy theory shit, whatever you can look
hmm
it up, but
Yeah.
I know certain things.
Yeah. hmm
Um, that was a contract that they signed to play out for their career. So either
Yeah.
you follow what we say to you, and you're going to
hmm
make millions and millions and millions of dollars,
hmm
or you don't, and then we just destroy you.
Draw you. Yeah. And I think in this world, it's so easy because I mean, like we're watching each other all the time. You know what I'm saying? And it's our own faults, I guess, or not our own faults, but as like when social media is there, we want that attention. That's fine. You know what I'm saying? Especially yeah, but it's it becomes to when you put yourself out there, expect to get
Yeah, expect
Good,
different reaction.
bad, and ugly from every side.
Absolutely. And you know what? That's just a part of
Even for
the
us, what
experience.
we do too. It's like we're going. This is what it's kind of the route we chose, so we're gonna get it. You know what I'm saying? And as long as you know how to handle it, it's
I don't think anyone would ever
fine.
really be ready for it because when it comes in very fast.
Hmm.
And, most people that are very famous for doing things, there's people that play in the front of the camera and there's people that play behind the camera. I
Hmm.
would rather be the person that plays behind the camera because I feel like
Hmm.
I could get more done that way.
Hmm.
And then most people, when you watch a movie, most people, when you see a writing credit up on the screen, they have no idea who you are.
Yep.
And it's
But
like,
they're
you
probably
told me
making more
the guy
money
that
than
was in it.
everybody else.
Yep, and they have no idea. They remember the people
No
who
idea.
acted in the movie. They remember
Hmm.
the music from the movies, but they don't really remember the writer. And
Hmm.
to me, comedy for me was I'm writing this piece and you're going to remember me because you're seeing me and you're going to remember
Yeah.
what I said.
We do everything. We do
We do
everything, and
everything.
and
Yeah,
I think that's the art. That's the joy of stand up. You're your own actor, director, producer,
I loved it.
stuff like that. And we most of the part we write our own jokes. We have a little help here and there, like but it's like very minuscule. It's like you can offer me a tag and I use it, and
Yeah.
that's fine. It wasn't like we signed a contract for that tag. You know what I'm saying? It's
Although
just like,
some people
yeah.
do.
Remember. Hmm?
Oh, don't mind me. I'm old. I'm just old.
No, I mean I know there was writers. I remember like Jimmy Walker used to buy jokes from other people and all that stuff. So I know there's definitely writers, and I see nothing wrong with that. You know what I'm saying? But for the most part, most comics write their own stuff and do their own stuff. You know what I'm
I could
saying?
never imagine being a comic that had other material written for me. I would feel extremely uncomfortable because I don't know what you're saying. Like what in what like how does this like I would feel like if you were to write for a comic, you have to know their personality so well and know
Well, I think they do. I think people are hired for that reason, and most of the times you would hire your friends or people.
right.
Like I know Kevin Hart has a writing team, and that's great. He's reached a level where he can afford to have a writing team, which is good. You know what I'm saying? And but most of the people that write for him are his friends, and they know him, and vice versa. So it's you know I'm all for it. If you get to, I think if you get to a certain level, even the good, even like comics, the Chris Rocks and Chappelle, they reached a point where they can afford help,
Yeah.
and they probably need help because there's more pressure. I mean, we know this shit. We know this shit isn't easy. You know what I'm
I
saying?
would still want like it to be. I mean, I think you could tell the
No,
comic
I think it's the majority of it is you.
yeah.
But if you reach a certain pinnacle in your life, I mean, especially like I can't see Kevin Hart writing a whole hour by himself at this point of his career, in
Right.
my opinion. You know what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
he's reached it, and he's one of the guys. Like I know a lot of people love to hate and shit on him, but he's reached. But at the same time, he's reached that pinnacle where yeah, you're gonna get shitted on because you're at a point. You're on the top. Anybody on the top.
Well, it's pretty funny. It's hard to shit on somebody that's on the top.
Hmm.
It's more the people that are at the top are shitting on you because they are, shit doesn't go up, it only goes down.
Yeah. Hmm.
So, I mean, and if it's going up, you got a problem. But
Yeah.
once you're up that high and you slip on it and you fall right down in a big pile of it because
Hmm.
that can happen. And that did happen to him, but he was, I guess, able to bounce back with
Yeah.
something.
Well, I don't think what was it from the I guess some comments or whatever or
Yeah, he
some.
said that if his son was
Oh,
gay,
yeah, I remember that, and he
right,
recovered from that. He even made a whole one thing about Hart, and I admire him. One thing I admire him, like you don't have to admire him as a stand up or his body of work, but as a business, treating it as a business and moving
moving up.
that far, he's definitely to me the most successful comic ever. As far, and I'd say in the best. There's a difference. There's a difference between the best and the most successful. There's a lot of, musicians that made a lot of money. They're the most successful, but they're not better at than your favorite artists, you've been following who makes good music. And I'm not saying Kevin Hart's not funny because I think he is, but he's not, you
He's
probably
definitely
wouldn't
was
put him.
funny when he first came out. That's when you could tell
Yeah,
he was
absolutely.
true,
Absolutely.
authentic
Hmm.
Kevin Hart because he was delivering jokes that were
Hmm.
like he was imitating people that he knew.
Yeah.
Like when he makes that joke, and I still remember it when he says when he got cursed out by an old man, he was like,
Hmm.
"Listen, you're nothing but a piece of cheese without any quarters or something like that, or something
Yeah.
like that." So and then I don't remember the joke. Oh, you're nothing but a piece of cheese without any corners. And then he
Hmm.
said something about being a bitch, and just the way he made fun of,
Yeah.
felt like everybody
No,
could.
I think he's great. I think he's great, but he's like he's reached. He's reached the pinnacle in his career where he might be a little oversaturated too, where he's always in
That's
front of you.
exactly what Antonio
I
Clark
think
just
that's
said.
yeah. He's like, I'm sick of this guy.
Hollywood funny now. Hollywood funny. That Hollywood
Yeah.
funny where
Uh-huh.
like you
Yeah.
sit like,
Absolutely.
yeah,
And,
Hollywood funny. Yeah.
and acting wise, and like in movies, I think he's hilarious. I think he does well. I mean, you could question his stand up, but he's put out so much. He's put out like maybe 20 specials in the last two,
He
3 years
he works pretty hard. I mean,
because of the brand. He hustles and the brand he made and the things I can't shit on a comic that has a contract, a sneaker contract. That's insane.
that's amazing.
That's
Same thing with
insane.
Adam Sandler. I mean, didn't get through. Adam Sandler started making these skits the same way that we would on
Hmm.
like TikTok or something like that with all of his friends. I mean,
Hmm.
I still to this day listen to his album. They're all gonna laugh at you, and fucking
Uh-huh.
crack up, and then like remember, like I'm like, oh my god, that's David Spade, or oh my god, like listening to like, I mean, come on, like some of those things are hilarious, and you didn't even have to see it; you only heard it, and you were laughing.
Hmm.
You
Yeah,
know,
I remember like yeah,
yeah.
comedy was like, back in my day, I was saying I had Delirious on a cassette. And I was talking to Nigel about it.
I
Um,
love
you know,
Nigel. Shout out to Nigel. Happy
Nigel,
birthday, Nigel.
what, a week ago? But you would listen to the lyric like in high school, I would listen to comedy albums and it was like, Eddie, Richard Pryor, Robin Harris was a big one too. If you ever
Robin
listened
Harris. Yeah, I
to,
think
yeah,
Julie's
Robin
ever
Harris,
that.
House Party, yeah, Bebe's Kids, all that
Well,
stuff.
oh my, that is a long forgotten movie, and I actually watched that
Hmm.
the other day, and I was
Oh,
like,
get out of here.
to this day, it's funny. It's funny.
But
Man, don't come here no more.
yeah. But the funny thing is, like, growing up, like, in school, I would listen to those. A lot of people will have Walkman,
Yeah,
had music on. I would listen to comedy, and I would get attention because I'll just be sitting, listening to my Walkman and laughing, and it's like, yo, what's this dude is crazy. Why are you just sitting there
right.
just laughing?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then people would come up to like, what are you listening to? And then people's like, and I'll, give them the headphones and then now they start laughing. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, yeah, that was the fun part about, I guess, having comedy, consuming comedy like that, especially, back in the days, with, the Eddie Murphys and the Richard Pryors and stuff like that. That was a lot of fun for me. So
Well, back in the day, because we're basically from the same generation. Um,
yeah.
Sorry, Carrie, I forgot that other R. sorry, but hello, Carrie.
Hmm.
That's what we did. I mean, you went
Hmm.
to prom, and then you went to the city, and you went to a comedy club because that was the
Hmm.
only place that you could get into being 18 years old.
18,
That
yep, and it's
yeah,
late.
that's what we did. We took limos and we went to
Hmm.
the city and we went to a comedy club. That's what we did.
Hmm.
So growing up in the 90s, that was like a pastime. So I noticed that a lot of audience members that do actually come to watch, comedy shows are grown, 90s kids, like around, our age or a little bit older.
Hmm.
But the younger
Yeah.
generation, I feel like, they sit at home and they watch a lot of comics.
Yeah, because we put it out. It's put
Right.
out
They
differently.
watch other like real people that aren't comics
Yeah.
doing funny stuff because you've
Well,
noticed
the thing is,
laughs.
yeah, yeah. Well, the thing is, I think the term or the word comedian is now it doesn't just associate with stand up anymore.
Right.
You have Instagram comedians, you have Vine comedians when that was big. And people have that under their name, comedian. They never performed on stage in their life.
Right, I get it.
You know
You
what
can
I'm
even
saying?
say
But
comic without like Spider-Man popping up.
yeah.
I used to hashtag like comic this, that, and then I started getting like all these messages from like these comic book nerds. Like,
Hmm.
hey,
Yeah.
like
Well,
Comic
whatever. Well, whatever works. You know what I'm saying?
Con.
But I think yeah, the comedian, like, that term now is like, it doesn't just correlate, or it's not just labeled with stand-ups now. It's
So maybe we should create a new word that's just ours. Let's see if we could come up with a couple of them. Okay.
that's
How about Zoomedian?
eh, that sounds very cringy.
Okay.
I
Zoomedian.
can't.
Okay, so no, we won't use that word.
Yeah.
How about we
That's
change it? Like, how about we just change it like comic with a K? So that's like the official symbol of being a real deal. I've been on stage comic instead of
yeah.
people put K.
Mm.
I'm a
That could be possible. That could be possible.
and you
But
can't
I
get that name underneath. We'll register trademark it, and you can't get that unless you buy into the registered trademark for like $10, and then you can get that sealed next to your name, and then everybody will know that you're a real deal stand-up comic, set
yeah.
aside from.
Yeah. But then if you do that, then they're like, comedy, there's the people, and there's no rules to this. There's no degrees. There's no, it's anybody can walk in, anybody can get on stage. The thing is
Still
with
to pay the $10, we'll be rich. Think about
yeah. Well, that's true. But whenever, like, say you go to your first open mic wherever in the city, Long Island, wherever,
it. Yeah,
you're gonna meet a group of people.
God
You're
help.
going to meet all different types of people. And I'm not dissing them. I'm just saying you're going to meet people that have their reasoning for doing this. You know what I'm saying? Some people have reasons because they were inspired by watching it. Some people have reasons because of all they're experiencing.
Right.
And some people have reasoning for doing it because they're just plain crazy. You know what I'm saying? It's
I
like
feel like a lot of people do it because it gives them like a sense of family. It gives them a sense of
absolutely, absolutely. It's therapy. And there's nothing wrong with
yeah.
that. But you get so many different, like, I've never met so many people in my walk of life that have been through so many different things, and so many personalities that are nice and like yourself. You've been great, and
Thank you. You too. I
and
mean,
yeah, thank you. And then you get so many people that you'd be like, all right, what the hell's wrong with this
right, like
person? You
why
know
are
what I'm saying?
you fucked up?
Yeah. And then you see them, and then you don't see them. And but as long as there's as long as they're happy, you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's stand-up comedy is hard enough.
Yeah.
And then to navigate with the people around you, it's a totally different thing, you know?
I'm loving it. I mean, we went to the open mic the other night. It was
Hmm.
actually very pleasant.
Yeah, it was.
Everybody was kind of sitting there hanging out with their drinks and
Hmm.
just chilling, and everybody was talking. I didn't feel like a vibe. I mean, I actually felt like a vibe of like, we miss you. Like, come
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
hang out with us every once in a while. I mean, because
And
I
it's people
go
you
like
usually see
every
around.
week,
Yeah.
every night, Monday,
And I
Tuesday,
re-
Wednesday, Thursday.
and that's what I appreciate about I guess the Long Island comedy community. Like, a lot of people that looking from the outside, they'll probably take their shots and shit on it. But I think, because it's a smaller group of people. Well,
Yeah,
it's not like, well, I mean, it's a big enough group, but like,
it's still
compared to this, yeah, but compared to the city, you go to the city, and you're just meeting so many different, different people from all over. Not only, remember, you're meeting people from all over the world. People have moved from other countries to pursue this. You
soon.
know what I'm saying?
I went to a
And
show in Brooklyn for Nick Carter, and I was shocked. People came from Philadelphia to perform on the
hmm
roof on a rooftop in Brooklyn with like a 10-floor walk up.
hmm
I was definitely Fatty McGee by the time I got to the top of the fucking building. But the
hmm
roof was packed, and I mean, there were people there that had been writers for SNL. I
hmm
think people nailed it. They killed it. And people in the city, but see, the good thing about the city is people like to go out in the city. They don't want to sit in their apartments. They go out. The
Absolutely.
people in Brooklyn, they go out, they
That's
enjoy
why
themselves.
you that's why you spend like $1,000 a month with 6 different roommates and sitting in a box because you know you're not going to stay in that box all day. You know what
You're
I'm
out
saying?
working, and then as soon as you're out of work, you're going to dinner, you go
Yeah.
for drinks, you go for a walk, anything
The
to escape
city is location, location, location. You're of course you're getting gypped.
I
Paying
do enjoy
3,000
it,
a
man.
month.
I'll tell you, I miss it. Like I wish that I was the person that I am now, um,
Hmm.
still living in Brooklyn. Although I love Long
Hmm.
Island, but
Yeah.
Brooklyn is a different animal. It's a different beast. There's different people there. It's just a
Hmm.
different culture. I miss the food. God, do I miss the food? I gained like 200 pounds living in Brooklyn.
Oh man.
Oh,
Wow.
God, let's just talk
Yeah.
about the pizza for a second. The pizza,
Oh yeah.
the bakeries, the Italian ices were different. God,
Hmm.
I mean, people's farts smell different in the city. It's just completely different and more
Parts of
expensive. Like you walk into the
parts of
store.
joy.
Oh yeah, you walk into a store. I mean, I remember the first time I brought my ex boyfriend out here. My ex boyfriend was from the Ukraine, total
Hmm.
asshole, and I brought him out here to Long Island, and I brought him into Walmart, and I'm talking to him, and I turn around, and he's just standing there like looking around, and he's like, I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, this is the biggest store I've ever been in my entire life. I'm like, what? Can
Because
we go
Long
to
Island is
like, what
so.
are you talking about? He had never seen, he was literally, because he's a Gemini, so Geminis like to look at everything. He
Hmm.
was literally looking at every single thing and finding things. And I mean, we brought so much stuff because in the city, everything is immensely expensive.
Yeah,
You know,
but you go to
it's
Walmart. Yeah, Walmart is the mecca of
yeah. Well,
you
not so
know.
much anymore. Now they've it's the playing field has been leveled. You could actually save more money buying like little like makeup, razors, shaving cream, stuff like that when you go to CVS because they give you coupons.
Yeah, they had to step up their members or your member rewards
Member
points and stuff
rewards,
like
yeah,
that.
that
Yeah, a
long.
lot of people had to step up.
If you
Yeah.
decide you need something the day after your coupon expires,
And that's why I think Walmart is not in like they're never in the 5 boroughs. There will never be a Walmart in the 5 boroughs. They'll always be outside of the 5 boroughs because they're not gonna get they're not gonna like yeah.
I mean Target. I think but you have to again, you have to travel far distance. I mean, I think I think there's King's Plaza, but I mean,
No, there's a lot of Targets in the city. There's a good substantial amount of Targets in the city, but
but
there's
they're
no
very
Walmarts in the
expensive.
city. Yeah, they're not. Yeah, I don't look at them as cheap as Walmart cheap. But the reason why a lot of people stay away from Walmart because there's too many people in there. It's always a zoo. Well, I used to live by the one in Valley Stream,
Right.
and that was like the super duper Walmart, and that's also the place where somebody died for a television set during Black Friday.
I went
So
to Target the other day because I had to have these keto peanut butter bars, and that was the only place that I could find them. They were sold out
yeah.
everywhere, and I'm like, if I don't get this, it's like crack to me. If I don't
Hmm.
get this, I'm gonna kill somebody. Because God forbid I buy a jar of peanut butter and just shut the hell up. No,
Uh,
this. So I go into Target and I'm walking around the store, and I'm like, they literally have like own aisles of like crazy shit, like just dolls as far as the eye can see, and like just all these clothes, and everything was on sale, and I was just like, how do you like go like broke in here? I
yeah.
can't imagine. They have everything,
It's like a strip club.
aisles for just candles and aisles for just water bottles, and I'm just like,
Hmm.
where is the sanity here? Like, do we really need this much stuff?
Hmm.
Does anyone really need all of this stuff? Like, I feel like the market is just oversaturated with everything, and it's just copy.
Yeah. Copy paste and yeah.
You
Well,
have
that's
a
such a.
child, so I'm sure you go into like
Oh, we going to all of them. I got used to Amazon. I think Amazon spoiled everybody. The
oh, it did.
the devil himself.
I'll literally order something, and then I'll think of something else, and I'll go back and order it. And they'll beg me. They'll beg me, please. Can you
Yeah, don't
deliver
forget.
the next
Yeah.
day? Just wait one more day, so it's fewer trips to your house. And I'm
Uh-huh.
like, no.
Yeah, I got it. Amazon is very addictive once you get in. It's like, yeah, you can get something that instantaneous. Even I got groceries delivered the other day. I'm in. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
it's
like,
worth
this
it
is great.
sometimes. I actually
Yeah.
ordered Taco Bell from like from
But
DoorDash. it was
DoorDash, yeah.
reasonable to spend like an extra $3 to get.
Sometimes it's ridiculous. I've seen prices that like if you order like Uber Eats and Grubhub, is like, you pay an $8 sandwich, $40 for an $8 sandwich. And you're like,
That's what
what
I'm
the
saying. Yeah, and people pay for it because
because
they
you
know.
want to tip the driver. Yeah, you want to tip the driver and you want to, because you don't really get paid that much doing it. You know what I'm saying?
No, definitely not. Like
Yeah.
I have a friend that lives in the. She's actually on this other side of the wall. She lives in the apartment that's over there. And one time I came downstairs and there was a bag of ice cream in front of my door. And I was like, should I be a shitty friend right now and just eat the ice cream? Like she would never know, and then like rip up the ice cream container and throw it all over the front lawn so she thinks it's some animal guy. Because it's got to be hard. You walking up to somebody's property, and no one comes out to greet you.
Yeah.
It kind of
Especially with COVID now, it's contactless.
just
You just leave it on the, yeah. Yeah.
leave it at the door and get the fuck
Yeah.
out of
Get out
here.
of here. Get off my lawn.
Get off my lawn, you ugly
Yeah.
yellow fucking man.
Yeah.
I was actually watching that movie Party Monster because Michael Alec finally overdosed and died. I don't know if you know
Who?
the story about Party Monster, Michael Alec, the guy that killed his drug dealer.
No, I don't know the
Back
story.
in the 90s, there was like the club kids that used to hang out at the Limelight, and
Hmm.
he killed his drug dealer. And then he got sent to jail for, I don't know, like 15 years, 15 or 20 years for murder. And then he just came out like a week ago, and then now he's dead because he,
Wow.
and
He
I'm like,
murdered his drug dealer. Yeah. You can't just do stuff like that.
awful. And I was watching, actually, Macaulay Culkin was in that movie, and I'm watching this, and I was like, it's pretty funny how Macaulay Culkin's life turned out to be exactly the character that he kind of sort of played. My
Yeah.
mistake, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so
What a
what's
rough
next for
life.
you? You got anything coming up? I know you have your podcast.
Yeah, and I think that's like you were mentioning how this pandemic got us to be creative and stuff. And if it wasn't for that, I probably wouldn't have started that podcast. It was a blessing. It's the most fun I had. I'm a big sports guy and I love talking sports, and that's like an icebreaker for me with most people.
Yeah.
So when that happened and I had the concept in my head, and once I did the first one, then like it was just so much fun to the point where people wanted to be on the show if they're sports fans. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, can I talk about the Yankees? Can I talk about, I'm a Dallas Cowboy fan. Can I talk about? I was like, yeah, yeah, man, this
Yeah.
is,
Oh, yeah, it's great.
and the response has been great. I think, I've been, like, putting, just trying to put the content together, video, audio, as well as, making fun, just having talking fun. And a lot of people get excited about it. And that's what I've been happy about the
Yeah.
most. I've
Miss
had some,
sports,
yeah,
you know, they miss
I-
it.
yeah, yeah. Remember sport, that was the part of that was the inspiration. There was no sports. So a lot of things, one thing that was big during the pandemic was the documentary The Last Dance about the Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls on ESPN.
Yeah, I've yet to see that yet, but I really want to see it.
It was a big deal because there was no sports. So that was the closest thing to sports as you were going to get. And the ratings were massive. They were drawing like, millions upon millions of people watching.
Yeah.
And whether you're a sports fan or not, you know who Michael Jordan is. You know what I'm saying? So,
Dollar in a dream.
yeah, so the intrigue is very interesting, whether, like I said, like whether you're a sports fan or not. So that was like, and I did it even before it came out. So that concept was always there. But I mean, that just like really proved my concept. Like, all right, people really miss sports. So I was like, I kept going on, and I've 35 episodes in. I recorded every Monday. Unless something happened. Like I said, I didn't record because of the wisdom tooth thing, and then even I took a couple break during when the protests were high and stuff like that. I was like, yeah, let me just not put anything out right now. And then so I did that, and then but like that's probably the best thing I have going right now. And and being fortunate to do, you know, comedy. I felt like I was fortunate to do a decent amount of shows. You know what I'm saying?
Even during
Without
COVID. Yeah.
yeah, and I wasn't like clamoring to get on spots. I wasn't trying to hang out and stuff like that. But I was like, I was fortunate enough to get on things,
Yeah.
and I was fine. I mean, yeah, 2020 sucked. Yeah, it did. But when you make the best of it,
Yeah.
it could be a blessing, like you said. And
A lot of good ideas came out of it. A lot of
yeah,
a
and
lot of making things work, working
yeah,
together, putting
adapting. I
aside.
think yeah, just adapting to you what's going on. I
Yeah.
think that was the big deal.
People are
And
adaptable. They have to be. And if they're not, then
yeah,
sorry.
yep,
See you someplace else because there's really nothing else. If you
yeah,
don't adapt to change, you just sink right to the bottom of the ocean. And,
hmm, true
we
indeed.
somebody to come and find you and, listen, we
Yeah,
all try to watch our own asses. We just
yeah,
can't do that.
yeah. So that was I was like, I think as bad as 2020 was, we made the best of it, and I was okay. You know,
Yeah.
Uh,
And I'm
and I was
actually, people want to return things to normal. I don't want things to go back to normal. I'm not talking about like the mask and stuff like that, but
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
don't
yeah.
want to lose the humanity. I don't want to lose
Mhm,
the energy of people being creative and people
mhm,
putting stuff out and using their brains and being like, I've had time to relax. I've had time
mhm,
to think. I've had time to
mhm.
really evaluate what's really important to me because at any second, anything can be taken away from you. And we all know that subconsciously going through life. But I feel like, it was slammed in our faces every day when we were hearing, okay, 800 people died, now 1,000 people.
Yeah,
It's like it was crazy listening to that.
I think it was a lack of knowledge. I think
Right.
a lack of knowledge and a lack of understanding what was going on because
Mm.
I remember when you would hear somebody had COVID and you're like, oh my God, is he going to die or she's going to die because you don't know what it is.
You just never you never know. And then the people that I know that have COVID,
Hmm.
um, they seem to be just trucking along.
Yeah.
And then there's other people that I know that have it that aren't. And
Yeah.
it's just a matter of how it hits you, how it affects you, what you have going
Hmm.
on in your
Yeah.
body.
Hmm.
It's still a very scary thing, and
Absolutely.
to lose
Absolutely.
that
Hmm.
fear of, listen, pay attention to your loved ones, pay attention to your friends and family that are around
Yeah.
you.
And I think, yeah, another thing, and sorry to cut you off, but another thing, I think, I got to spend more time with my family than I
Yeah,
ever did before in my life.
yeah.
I was around my kid more. I was around my wife more. And then I was like, all right, this isn't
That's a
bad.
blessing. I mean,
Yeah.
that's I was here alone with my cat, and I was like, God, like, why didn't I get married, or at least like, something, so I could.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you said, you had time to think. So, yeah.
I really did need somebody. I was like, I actually feel like I wanted that companionship. I wanted that, someone to talk to. I wanted something to look forward to. I mean, obviously, if the person was miserable, then
Yeah.
that's another
Yeah.
story. But I did want that, and I,
Hmm.
am very much open to that, situation now. Even though we're not in quarantine, I definitely am now. I'm like, all right, I need to like put a male voice in this house.
Yeah.
When I come home, I want to hear, "Hey, honey."
That's like-
Oh God, like it's
yeah.
time to stop messing around. Like you start realizing, like it's like, all right, like I'm ready to actually settle down now and have like a
Mhm.
committed, serious relationship with the right person, obviously.
Yeah.
But I don't want to. I used to think to myself, oh, okay, I'll just stay single. It hasn't happened. I'm going to be 40, and now I'm just kind of like, well, you know what? And it's not for any superficial reason. It's because everybody wants to find their soulmate.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Want to have that. Like I want someone to
Hmm.
actually, to love and to love each other. And I think it's out there.
And this life is full of twists and turns. You never know. You might meet the person, and he might be the one, or you might think he's the one, and vice versa. And you never know.
You never know.
Like
It's
just
trial
like
and error. But I'm willing to,
yeah, just live. Yeah,
willing to.
just live. Yeah, just live, love, and do do what you want to do. It's yeah,
I'm gonna do it
it's
anyway.
yeah.
I'm gonna do it anyway.
Anyway, yeah.
All right, man. I know you gotta go. You gotta, put your baby to bed.
Yeah.
So it's 8 o'clock bedtime.
Yeah.
So it was a real pleasure having you on. It was a great.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I appreciate you putting me on stuff throughout this tough time. And um, yeah, shout out to you and anybody else keeping us performing alive. You know what I'm saying? Because that
Yeah.
was great. It's cool that people want this. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to you for doing the things you're doing and keep doing what you're doing.
I will.
So
And I'll definitely have more shows coming up to drag you into. So don't
yeah,
worry.
great, great.
All right, Johnny. So Monday, what time does your show? And you do your show program on
It's
your.
called Rooting for Laundry Sports. I got Keegan coming on, Mike Keegan.
Oh, that
So
should be good. Yeah, he's definitely good.
yeah. That one's at 5. I usually air it around 3, but you can after I record it, it's live on Facebook and YouTube,
Okay.
on my YouTube page and YouTube channel, and audio
And then
anywhere
you
you
post on
stream podcast.
Instagram also. You post your recorded video on Instagram.
I post the clips, like the best clip, the funniest clip,
But
or
you
the best
can't
clip.
upload like an entire. You
I
can.
don't do an entire show on IG Live. The software, well, the program I use, StreamYard, which is great. I love StreamYard.
Right.
It doesn't allow IG, and that's fine. You know what I'm saying? But
Well, there
like,
is a way actually that you can post to Instagram through your laptop.
I'm yeah, I definitely know you can, but it's fine because like, well, maybe down the road because I know you want to expand and stuff like that. But for right now, I got the audio and the video, so it's good to pick an option. If you don't want to, a lot of people drive by listening to things, and I realized that, like, all right, at first I was like, all right, video's enough. A
Right.
lot of people listen to YouTube in their car anyway. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
But the audio helps out if you listen to audio. If you're don't have time to watch things or you're not in a place to watch anything, you can always listen.
Just listen to it. Yeah. That's why
Yeah,
I
so
like
that's
Zoom
great too.
because Zoom records audio and video.
Yeah,
So you
StreamYard
can
does the
put it up to
same.
Spotify. Right. So you can put it up to
Yeah,
Spotify. Whatever you.
yeah, all the streaming services have it, and it's great.
Yeah.
So
All right, cool.
yeah.
Well, I'm going to make my big announcement. So if you want to log off, you can do that, or you can hang around for it, whatever you want to do.
Yeah. What's the big announcement?
Okay, so big announcement going forward. In Bed with Comics will now feature, and you're more than welcome to come back and do this. I just don't want to like spring it on you tonight. So In Bed with Comics going forward is now going to start with. I'm going to give comics probably about 5 to 10 minutes to do their set before we sit down for the interview. And of course, you're going to have the best audience member, Kristen Tinsley, with one of the funniest laughs you've ever heard because I love practicing different types of laughs and voices and all that kind of crazy stuff. Been doing it since high school. I love it. Trust me, believe me.
Mhm.
They don't call people know my laugh. If you're from Levittown, you'd be like, oh, Kristen Tinsley, oh, yeah, the girl with the loud laugh. That's me.
Mhm.
So the comics are going to have 5 to 10 minutes to be able to do their set, do a little bit of time, and then sit down with me, and we're going to have that conversation, and we're going to talk about comedy or whatever they want to talk about. So that's yet another platform that the comics could use. And then if you're going to have a video of your stuff, so you can send it to whoever you want or however you want to do it. And that's how I'm going to be doing In Bed with Comics going forward.
Nice. Congratulations.
Thank you. Onward and upward. So
Yeah.
it's going to be a good time. So if you
Nice.
ever want to come back on again and do the Aunt Dildo joke.
Oh. Well, I'm glad you don't get tired of it. I appreciate that.
I definitely don't. I really
Mm.
don't get tired of that joke. It's the
No,
funniest thing ever.
thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. So good night, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so
All
much, Johnny
right.
MacDonald.
Thank
You
you.
can follow him on Instagram on Here's Johnny Mac, right?
Johnny Mac. Yep.
Here's Johnny.
Instagram and Twitter. Yep.
Yep. And Twitter and Facebook. You can find him Johnny MacDonald.
Yeah.
MAC Donalds.
Yes, damn it.
Yes. And you can follow me, Chris Nicole Tins Comedy on Instagram. And you can also follow me on the Fresh Leaf of Bariatrics about health and nutrition. And now the Divine Femidi in my tarot channel, if you'd like to tune in for a read. Anyway, thank you so much. I'll be back next Thursday, 8 o'clock for more In Bed with Comics. Thank you so much for watching. Good night.
All right.
Oh, we have to shut the live stream down. There we go.